Jim Carrey's trying to tell us something, and it's time that we started listening. One of the most unsettling yet oddly humorous moments of his career happened during his appearance on Jimmy Kimmel, and I feel like this next segment was a vital message by Jim Carrey. Disguised as humor maybe, there is a lot to talk about with this one, and I was shocked to see what Jimmy said. But first, let's watch this incredible moment that got so many people's attention.
Is that a gang sign? Have you,
Oh, like you don't know what it is. You don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know. David Letterman doesn't know.
We don't know.
All the comics and show business don't know what this is. Right? Yeah.
Jimmy quickly turned from bemusement at Jim Carrey's antics to an anxious unease at what he was really implying. Now, you don't need to go too much down the conspiracy rabbit hole around that hand sign and the supposed organizations associated with it, and that's because I believe Jim Carrey truly meant something else, and something maybe deeper. Over the years, he's been disillusioned with much of the pomp and show of Hollywood, and it was clear by the insinuations he made saying that talk show hosts like Jimmy Kimmel are also mere distractions meant to pull people's attention away from things that truly matter. Think of something like the Colosseum while Rome was falling apart, except the modern Colosseum of the television screen is ubiquitous and hypnotizes everyone with lies and spin.
I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it, and it is the all-mocking tongue. It's the symbol of the all-mocking tongue. And I'm sick of it. I want everybody to be in on the joke, man. You know what I mean? For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on.
He just said that straight to Jimmy Kimmel's face, but it's a charge sugar-coated in comedy that makes it impossible to counter. Anyone that has been following Jim Carrey knows how the star comedian has become a more subdued and introspective man in his later age. Trying to contemplate life's greatest questions, it's a pursuit of meaning that is the highest goal which too many people never get to do because they're so caught up in trivial entertainment, petty politics, and pointless distractions. And there's no industry that's a bigger source of all that than the one that's been a part of his entire life. As Jim Carrey says in one of his quotes, and I quote, "I wish everybody could get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of so they can see that it's not the answer." Now, is there something in particular about Jimmy Kimmel in this regard? Perhaps not, but it's fair to say that he's part of a bigger cadre of influential people who can change the tide of opinion at the behest of powerful individuals above them. In fact, isn't that what modern comedy and the late-night talk show is becoming anyway? It's indoctrination and propaganda for whatever the establishment narrative on the latest hot-button issue is, thinly disguised under comedy or compassion. That's what we've seen every time, from the pandemic to the war in Ukraine to the contentious social issues inside our own country. In fact, watch this rather uneasy clip from Jimmy Kimmel himself a few years ago that shows you just how easy it is to get away with even the most egregious of remarks if it's coming from the correct side of the political spectrum.
Dr. Fauci said that if hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy. The poison control centers have seen this spike in calls from people taking this livestock medicine to fight the coronavirus. But they won't take the vaccine, which is crazy. It's like if you're a vegan and you're just like, no, I don't want a hamburger. Give me that can of Alpo instead.
I doubt anyone else would have survived another episode after a remark so dismissive of human life, Especially in the middle of a pandemic, Jimmy Kimmel in recent times has almost leaned into that character of standing on one side of the political divide to mock those on the other side. Perhaps that gets clicks in the media, but it certainly doesn't get respect from someone like Jim Carrey. It becomes abundantly clear when a character like Jimmy Kimmel can veer off into very controversial waters with different topics and yet never be reined back in by the producers. But it's precisely that nature as a protected class in the media that makes someone like Jim Carrey implicitly question why that is. Maybe when you're on the emperor's side, a circus that distracts the rowdy populace is always welcomed, and that's the intellectual slumber that Jim Carrey wants to wake you up from. Here's a clip from just this month when Jimmy Kimmel said some rather unsavory things about Donald Trump passing away, only to be met with cheers from his audience.
If those 3 judges he appointed to the Supreme Court take this case and rule against him, he is going to blow a whale-sized windmill out of his I mean, it might actually kill him. This could be it. Sometimes I wonder, once Trump is dead and gone and buried on the 18th hole of one of his golf courses, will things get better, or will we have a whole new crop of MAGA brains to deal with?
It's that hollow kind of political humor that does more to divide and sow resentment than anything else. But that's precisely why it's a distraction, robbing millions of people of the joy of learning, reaching over to the other side and actually trying to make peace. Though in that particular case, Donald Trump himself was also not very happy with Jimmy Kimmel making him a convenient punching bag and a subject of so many jokes for his late night special. As for Jim Carrey, the man that made millions of people laugh for decades has settled down into a more introspective persona, and for him, it has made a lot of this political back and forth ultimately pointless. Perhaps no such moment made this more clear to him than during the scare of a missile strike on Hawaii back in 2018, where Jim Carrey genuinely believed he was living his last 10 minutes before he passed away. It was those few minutes that confirmed much of the arbitrary and temporary nature of life and everything in it for Jim.
I sat on the lanai and looked out at the ocean, and at that point I started going, okay, well, what can I do with this last moment of time? And I just decided to go through a list of gratitudes, and honest to God, I could not stop thinking of wonderful things that have happened to me and blessings that I've had. So it was lovely. It was lovely, and I got to a point of grace at about 2 minutes to spare when I found out it wasn't actually happening. And all I was planning to do was close my eyes and be thankful, because it's been a good ride.
I think in his own life in the last few years, there's been a radical shift in his conception of life and facing up to morality, especially after his girlfriend ended her own life back in 2015. When something like this happens, it does all seem temporary and pointless in the end. Like walking around a festival with people lost in a momentary pleasure and no one questioning how they even got there in the first place. Right now, maybe the least we can do is not be hypnotized by every new trend, fad, or scare that envelops this nation every few months because of the engine of the mass media machine. That's the only way we can chip through the noise and start to peer at what's really going on in the world and in our own lives.